Today is Friday, February 23rd, and I'm just wondering if you'd like to have a little fun with me playing off-season Cowboy GM.
And now, a word from our title sponsor.
Are all financial advisors fiduciaries? Fewer than you think. Not knowing could reduce your lifestyle. Hi, I'm Mitch Kramer, founder and CEO of Fint Financial. A fiduciary is a regulatory term to reduce conflicts of interest in wealth management. A fiduciary always works in your best interest. A non-fiduciary advisor might put their compensation or company ahead of yours. At Fint Financial, we are certified financial planners acting as fiduciary advisors. To learn more, go to fintfinancial.com or Fint Financial's YouTube channel.
Oh, hail! No, I'm not cursing. That's the name of a terrific Dallas roofing company in business more than a decade. They handle residential or commercial properties. And those weird insurance forms that seem to be written in a foreign language? Oh, hail can simplify those for you also. So the next time something happens to your roof, just say, oh, hail. O-H-H-H-A-I-L. Ohail.com.
Hey, I was just wondering, do you know the history of goodness steak seasoning? Well, back in 2010, I had a little bitty roast sitting in the fridge, and I thought, man, I've got to do something with this. So I took that roast, put a whole bunch of different spices on it, wrapped it up, put it on that grill. About 3 hours later, opened it up, and man, heaven in a foil package. That was the beginning stages of what goodness steak seasoning is today. So if you'd like to have a little variety in your life, Goodness Steak Seasoning is where it's at. Limited availability in stores. BringTheTasty.com.
There's no question this is one of the most critical off-seasons in recent years for the Cowboys. They have a lot of free agents to be. They've got to have a plan for what happens when some of them leave, a plan for what they might be pursuing, and somewhat of a plan in the draft. Though the draft unfolds to give you opportunities or take them away. But this year, the Cowboys have only 5 picks in the first 6 rounds of the draft. So they can't afford many misses on those picks this year. Now they do get 2 key people who are injured back next season. They get cornerback Trayvon Diggs, and they get last year's number 3 pick, DeMarvion Overshown, back. Now, that helps because he's a big linebacker, and in new defensive coordinator Mike Zimmer's defenses, he's going to want big linebackers, something the Cowboys didn't have last year once Leighton Vander Esch got hurt. But this defense could suffer a lot of key losses. Cornerback Stephon Gilmore, cornerback Jordan Lewis, defensive end Durance Armstrong, safety Jaron Kearse, defensive tackle Jonathan Hankins. They're all free. And on the offensive side of the ball, 3 starters are also free. Running back Tony Pollard, starting center Tyler Biadasz, and starting left tackle Tyron Smith, who after a long and decorated career in Dallas, you get the sense won't be asked back this offseason. So you've got holes to fill. Who do you try to keep? I'd have Armstrong, the defensive end, Lewis, the nickelback cornerback, and maybe Biadasz on my keep list. So what are your needs? If that's your focus on what you're trying to keep, what are your needs? I have 4 of them. The first 3 are running back, defensive tackle, and offensive tackle. Now, under my plan, this club isn't going to pay $11.5 million for Tony Pollard to come back. And we're not paying Tyron Smith to come back and play tackle. Maybe Tyler Smith moves from left guard to left tackle, the position he was drafted to fill 2 years ago when Tyron Smith moved on. So in the draft, you look for a college offensive tackle, preferably a left tackle, whose future may be sliding into left guard, and that assures the left side of your offense. Now, you aren't necessarily going to get those players in that order in the draft. Maybe the first pick this year for the Cowboys will be an offensive tackle. Then next come running back and defensive tackle, or defensive tackle and running back, whatever's there in the second and third round. Now, if a big linebacker tends to fall, and they do tend to fall, maybe that person figures into the second or third round. But for me, that would be my look at what the Cowboys' needs would be. Highest on the must-do list, the running game. Fix the ability to run and fix the ability to stop the run. In a league where passing stats are out there, they're crazy, they're everywhere. The ability to run and stop the run is still the basics of offensive and defensive approaches to these games. Run, stop the run. Now, with potential free agent losses and a really shaky draft from last year, the Cowboys have much more to do this offseason. The club is limited so much in free agency by the contracts they already have, the huge contracts. Consider this. Next year's salary cap is going to be about $243 million. Now, there are ways to shape contracts so you can go over the cap, but let's take that number of $243 million. Well, even after his extension, let's say Dak Prescott gets on the cap next year $40 million. Zeke Martin counts $28 million against the cap. DeMarcus Lawrence counts $20 million. CeeDee Lamb, $18. Trayvon Diggs, $16. And the three-pack of Cooks, Steele, and Gallup count between 10 and 13. That's 8 players who count $156 million against that $243 million cap. For me, my number one target in free agency would be a linebacker, someone who can step right in and start. Mike Zimmer likes to play 3 linebackers to at least start defensive series. Right now, the Cowboys have one, Micah Parsons, and he's not even a linebacker much of the time. He steps up on the defensive line. So my target would be some solid run-stuffing linebacker to play in the middle. I would tend to go cheap at running back. If you fix the offensive line, and the offensive line can create running lanes, lots of runners can run into lanes that are open. That doesn't take a great deal of talent. And by the way, there are some runners who should be available in round 2 and round 3 who would be fine players in that regard. This offseason is incredibly important for the Cowboys. There's a huge extension for Micah Parsons on the horizon, and that's going to further tighten the cap going forward. The free agency signings, the draft picks, the Cowboys must hit on them if the Cowboys are to remain a prime contender in the NFL. This offseason is absolutely critical.
Today's episode has been brought to you by Fint Financial, by Oh Hell Roofing, and by Goodness Steak Seasoning.
Just Wondering is a production of DSP Media for FanStream Sports. You can find Norm's show along with other great programming at fanstreamsports.com.
Thank you for listening to today's episode of Just Wondering. If you enjoyed it, please hit follow. Then, each episode every weekday will be delivered straight to you. And, if we might ask one more favor, please share it with friends. I'm Norm Hitzges, and every day I'll be just wondering about something.
And I'm Mary Hitchkus, and I'm just wondering too.